That was serious.
Well, as usual, everybody say. I think I'm looking like number 8. It's not fair.
Fallen Firefighters Memorial 2018 10/11/2018.
Hello. Good morning, friends and family, firefighters. And welcome to the AFD Firefighters Memorial Day service. I'm Steve Barker, President of Local 330. On behalf of Local 330, I'd like to thank you for coming today. Every year, around this time, we gather to remember the precious sacrifice that our fallen brothers have made. Please rise for the entrance of the color guard for the playing of the national anthem.
Detail. Hey, Rugby. Detail. That's fine. Mark time. Mark. Ready. Hope. Left. Please. Hold guard. Post. Ready. Post. Hold guard. Ready. Post. Honor guard. Detail. Present. Arm. Palms.
Oh, see, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaked, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Honor guard. Detail. Order. Order. Palms. Arm. Honor guard. Recover. detail. Red, rep. About face. Right face. Forward march. Left. 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 Left, right, left. 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 Left, right, left.
Before we sit, let us pray. Lord, thank you for this day and the opportunity to pause, to remember the importance of what it means to serve and to sacrifice. To do that, not in theory, but very tangibly today as we remember those 15 souls who gave their lives in service of Akron Fire in putting out fires and saving citizens, that they paid the ultimate cost. And we pray that we would honor what we do today, would honor their memory. I pray this in your name.
Again, thank you all for coming. We have some special guests, Councilwoman Keith, Marilyn Keith, I saw her, thanks for coming. Chief Ball, thank you for coming. We have some speakers coming up now. First, we'll have Mayor of the City of Akron, Dan Morgan.
Well, thank you and good morning. I know I also saw a representative from Summit County Executive Item Chair's office, Greta. Thank you, and I know Steve Berry is out there too. Thank you, Steve. Gather this morning to remember, I think, the bravery and the honor and the sacrifice given by those members of the Akron Fire Department who lost their lives serving the city. Oftentimes, our firefighters and EMTs meet us on our worst days we wish would have never happened, days when we need a helping hand, competent care, and an encouraging word. We are blessed to have some of the finest men and women I've ever met answering calls for service on a daily basis. They treat every resident with compassion, respect, and the dignity that they deserve. This extraordinary level of service is personified by the individuals who we remember today, citizens who gave their lives to protect and preserve this community. And I think of no better way to honor their memory than ensuring that our firefighters and EMTs have the equipment and the facilities that will keep them safe and effective. And believe me, I'll do everything I can as mayor to make sure and they continue to have what they need on a daily basis. It's really an honor for me. I get to witness what you do every single day. And I don't know whether this is appropriate or not, but yesterday I want to say that I witnessed an accident. I didn't, I heard it. I heard it happening for a long time. There was a loud screech, and I saw a car smash into the back of a semi. The next thing I remember, and I swear it was a minute, the next sound I remember was the siren on the way. To me, that's work being done on every single day, and it happens every single day, and I appreciate it, and I know the citizens appreciate it every single day. So as we remember our fallen neighbors today, let us call to mind our own leadership roles within this community and ensure that the quality of our service lives up to their sacrifice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief of the Akron Fire Department, Clarence Tucker.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. I want to thank Mayor Morgan, Deputy Mayor Brown for their support. And I want to think for a minute about how many times have we come and had this firefighters memorial that we have all attended. And why are we here? Why are we here? We are here to honor the sacrifice that the men on that list have made. It's a sacrifice that we all signed up for, but none of us hope that we actually ever have to do. But once again, we're there. I try to imagine what it must have been like for each of them. You get up in the morning, you get the uniform on, you kiss your wife and your children goodbye. You go to the station for a regular day. You're there on your normal routine, planning out what you need to accomplish for the day. And then the unthinkable happens. and you're never coming home. And then the fire chief has to make the longest job of his life and go and try to explain to your family why you're not coming home. These firefighters on this list today, what would they tell us if they were able to? What would they want us to know? I think that they would want us to know that we have to make sure that their lives are not in danger. We learn from the lessons that cost them their lives. I think they would want us to know that the training, the strategy and tactics, the equipment, everything that's needed to make sure we prevent from adding to this list is done. Approximately 100 firefighters die in the line of duty across the United States every year. And with that, even after retirement, between 64 and 68% of firefighters come down with some type of cancer during their lifetime. Again, what will they tell us? Learn from the lessons of the past. I think the best way we can honor these individuals on this list, besides making sure that we don't add more names to this list, is to make sure that we take care of ourselves and take care of each other as we do our job each day. And again, I want to thank everyone here for coming out for this ceremony today. It's greatly appreciated, and truly, their lives were not lost in vain. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Now, former Akron firefighter, paramedic, and pastor, Wayne Krabs.
We're here today to remember that 15 of our Akron Fire Department members paid the ultimate price for their service. Jesus said, "No greater love has one than this, than to lay down his life for his friends." We also pause today to celebrate the fact that another year has passed without any firefighter deaths or anyone being added to that list. We're grateful because it's been almost half a century since the last line of duty firefighter death in Akron. Is firefighting that much safer than it used to be, that death has become such a distant reality almost half a century? What has changed in the last half century of firefighting? On the fire scene, we now have lightweight, large diameter hose and better fire pumps. We can get water to the fire a lot easier. We got SCP technology along with lighter and better turnout gear and pass devices that protect us as individual firefighters. Thermal imaging cameras, I don't think they imagined those 50 years ago. The incident command system and a safety officer on every fire scene makes a dynamic and dangerous environment a little more manageable. And then the improvement in technology outside of the fire scene. The development of 911 call and dispatch system. Emergency medical services, which were only started in 1978 in this department, became a part of the Akron Fire. And on every fire scene now there's a med unit on standby in case a firefighter is injured beyond the citizens. We have smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors, and those have saved countless lives. And we've improved building codes and have regular building inspections to prevent fires and the subsequent deaths that would occur if those fires did happen. And Chief Tucker used to be the head of the fire prevention before he was the fire chief, so he has a lot of experience with that as well. It's important we not let the lack of any recent Akron firefighter deaths lull us into complacency. On September 10th, 2001, there were not too many people worried about terrorism. In April of 2010, the BP executives visited the Deepwater Horizon because it was one of their best, it had the best safety rate of any of their drilling rigs. and just a short week later, it would explode, 11 people would die, and it would lead to one of the greatest oil spills in history. So while annual firefighter deaths have been reduced by more than half over the last 50 years throughout the country, a firefighter dies in the line of duty approximately every 5 days on average, and that's for over the last 10 years. According to NFPA, in 2016, there were 1,342,000 fires across the country, and those fires accounted for 3,300 deaths of citizens. And so, fire is still a real challenge, and it is still one of the most dangerous jobs that a person can participate in. Since June of 1969, when James Wise, the last Akron firefighter, died in the line of duty, over 5,000 firefighters had died trying to prevent 250,000 citizens who died, over 250,000 in that same 50-year period. So 5,000 firefighters died and saved many lives, but 250,000 were still, in spite of our improvements, have lost their lives the last 50 years. So, thank God it has not impacted us here as much, but it's not just thanking God. However, much of the credit goes to the cooperative, and sometimes with other administrations a little more contentious, but this mayor, I appreciate his servant leadership, that there's a partnership between me and with Deputy Mayor Brown here, and Chief Tucker, who has a reputation of being a firefighter's chief. That the City Hall, the administration, and especially the union too, appreciate so much Steve and his leadership, that they are all working together to try to make sure that no firefighter ever dies again, that this list will remain at 15. And the funny part is the safest way to do that is to do everything we can beforehand. But once the tones go off, once the fire starts, then the best way to be safe is to do what you have to do to attack the fire and put it out. And it means to put yourself in harm's way. And so all of the safety things in the world we do cannot prevent the fact that a fire scene or an EMS scene is a very dynamic environment. And technology does not put fires out. Courageous firefighters who step towards the suffering and suppress their fears and act in the face of fear is what allows, in fact, there's no fires burning at this moment in Akron, Ohio to be a reality. While no Akron firefighters died in the line of duty in the last 50 years, we want to be careful not to proclaim firefighting a safe profession. Many have been forced to retire due to on-the-job injuries and health problems. Job-related cancer and cardiac deaths have claimed too many Akron firefighters in the last 50 years. I just want to acknowledge those retired firefighters that aren't here today. Would you mind standing, and if we could give them a hand for their service, those that are still. In the back, our current Akron firefighters who managed to avoid the job injuries or death must still persist in serving times when it's not so much the physical challenge of the job, but it's often the emotional challenge of the job. To not give in to burnout when you're up 3 times after midnight. To continue to be gracious to citizens who are not always appreciative of seeing on their worst day, as the mayor had mentioned. And so it's hard at times when you have to face mothers and tell them that their baby has died, or you have to try one more Narcan after already doing 6 boluses, and the 7th is not going to bring that opioid addict back from death. Or that feeling of being in the fire and realizing that you're not going to save the life. It's hard not to become emotionally detached or to begin to question the value of what you do. And I once read that oncology nurses don't last more than about 2 years on the oncology floor because seeing so much death leads to burnout. And you think about the average firefighter career is at a minimum 25 years, and their time as a medic is often 2/3 to 3/4 of that. It is a tribute to these guys in the back that they haven't given up or lost heart. And that's what the Bible tells us to do. To not lose heart or grow weary in doing well. Probably the greatest privilege I had was to be a part of the group that makes up the Akron Fire Department. That there's a pride in serving, in facing your fears, and going into a burning building scared to death, but you don't not do it because you know your peers are in there, and there's something in you that thinks you can knock this fire down, and your adrenaline, your heart rate is racing at 100 miles an hour, and you do what you got to do to protect life and property. And when you come out, and you take off your SCBA and you sit on the back of the engine, and you realize you're exhausted, there's no better feeling than that satisfaction that you have been willing to do whatever it takes to get the job done. And by the grace of God, you didn't have to give your life. So I guess in closing, I just want to say I'm very grateful for the Akron firefighters who gave their lives. And I'm also even more grateful for the Akron firefighters that are still here today who have to represent the courage and the tradition that these 15 put before us. It's Teddy Roosevelt who said, "It's not the critic who counts, it's not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man or woman today in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who knows great enthusiasms, great devotions, and spends themselves in a worthy cause, who at best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and at the worst, that he or she fails, at least fails while daring greatly. In his place shall never, and so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who have never known either victory or defeat." William Wallace said, "Every man dies, but not every man lives, really lives." There are worse things than dying in the service of your fellow man. To never live for anything bigger or more important than yourself is really a greater tragedy. And so we're here today to remember these 15 who gave their lives to their fellow citizens as Akron firefighters. And we also pray for another year so that we can hit 50 years since the last Akron firefighter death on duty. And that these men who are no longer with us, we can't thank them personally, but I'd like us to at least turn and maybe stand and recognize those that are here today, and let us applaud their service.
Thank you, Pastor. Friends, it is truly an honor to be standing up here representing Akron firefighters today. I've had the privilege of working at Station 4, where the original granite memorial is located, probably about 20 years now. But before that, long before that, I was at the training academy, which was at Station 14 in Goodyear Heights. And every morning for physical training, we run up the hill to our Cyberling school, 8 of us, dressed in our turnout gear, eager and nervous at the same time, looking like yellow canaries, bright yellow turnout gear. And then randomly, it was about once a week, a gentleman would drive by in his car, and he would yell at us. And he would say, the first time he said, remember, and I didn't catch the last part of it. It took about 2 or 3 more times before I realized he was saying, remember lobby. And then it took me a little longer to realize lobby was Lawrence Lobby, who's memorialized on our granite memorial. So as I learned about Mr. Lobby, I feel like I finally learned what sacrifice means. I finally learned what the word honor means. And I finally learned what the word courage means. These words, they get thrown around a lot. You can see them in the dictionary. But the men on this wall give those words true definition. They give it depth. They give those words life. You see, the fire in 1965 on East Market Street was an inferno, and the newspapers say it took up a whole city block. And I can just imagine what they thought of, what the firefighters thought of, looking at this massive fire. Did they think the whole city was going to burn down? Did they think the world was ending? Or if I know my fellow firefighters, did they just think, time to go to work? Newspaper reports that fire companies saved 25 to 30 people that day. And that's an incredible act. But they got word there was one more person left inside. So Larry Lobby and John Nist didn't hesitate. They went back to work despite incredible odds and what must have been unbearable conditions to save the lady that was trapped inside. They took an enormous risk to themselves because they knew that's what they had to do. However, sadly, we know the end of the story. The fire had been burning for too long, and the structure had sustained too much damage, and the roof collapsed on top of them while they were inside, killing them and the lady they were looking for. And I tell you this story because I want you to know what I think of when I hear those words, honor and sacrifice. I think of the names on the wall. That's what honor and sacrifice is. God bless these men. God bless the Akron Fire Department. Thank you. We're going to do the roll call and a brief presentation at this time. We encourage and ask that any family members, if they'd like to pin the flower of your loved one on the wreath. David Miller died September 26, 1849, in the line of duty while engaged in firefighting activities. Thomas Stein, April 5th, 1867, died in the line of duty while responding to an alarm. Charles Platt died October 18, 1912, died by electrocution when a fire alarm line he was hanging came in contact with a high-tension wire. Thomas Harris, December 5th, 1913, died of injuries while responding to an alarm on a horse-drawn wagon that was struck by a motorized fire truck. Hendrik van Luttervelt, June 27, 1914, died in the line of duty when he fell through the second floor of a fire at 1065 South Main Street. Eddie Wolf, November 25, 1936, died when riding on the rear steps of a fire apparatus that was struck by a dump truck throwing it to the ground. Richard G. Goller, January 21st, 1943, died from a heart attack suffered while on duty at Station 10. Roy W. Smith, November 9th, 1943, died after being overcome by smoke and heat fighting a fire at 536 Washington Street. Dwight Hinman, December 16, 1952, died of a heart attack during a fire at 2306 8th Street Southwest. Ross E. Varner, October 11, 1957, died after being overcome by smoke and heat fighting a fire at 1157 East Market Street. Fred P. Yantis, October 28, 1960, died the next day from a fall from a fire apparatus while responding to a second alarm. Lawrence A. Lobby, died November 19, 1965, while attempting rescue of an occupant of a building at 973 to 999 East Market Street. John J. Nist, died November 19, 1965. Died while attempting rescue of occupant of building at 973 to 999 East Market Street. James F. A. Wise died June 12, 1969. Died of a heart attack during a fire at 310 North Howard Street. And now for the last alarm, John Lasker, President of the Akron Area Retired Firemen and Widows Association.
Like all of you, either still on the job or retired, I have at least one drawer dedicated to fire-related t-shirts. My favorite one is not AFD or Local 330 related, although I'm very proud to wear those. The words on the front of the shirt say Firefighter Fellowship. The back reads Firefighters. Family, tradition, and brotherhood. Those words describe perfectly why we are here today. We, the members of the Akron Area Retired Firefighters and Widows Association, are honored to perform the last memorial service for any active firefighter or member of our organization. Today, we honor our 15 brothers that are on the granite wall at Station 4. Bells have played a significant part in the fire service since the beginning. Before we had sirens and radios, the town hall and church bells were used to call volunteers to duty. All fire trucks used bells to clear the way to an emergency, and they were also used at a fire scene to evacuate a building in danger of collapse. Today, we will use a bell to honor our departed firefighters. You will hear a series of tones. 3, 3, 3, 1. This code in the past was sent by a telegraph key to dispatch, indicating that a fire company was in quarters but out of service to clean up and reload their apparatus after fire. Today, we will use the bell to signal that our fellow firefighters have responded to their last alarm. Please be seated. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember them. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them. In the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer, we remember them. In the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember them. As long as we live, they too shall live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. Memory is the priceless heritage of the ages. It is the echoing voice of happy days, experiences, emotions, fond recollections, beautiful traditions, friendships, and the comradeships of those whose hearts are true. Today, you're standing in memory of our brave departed brothers who will never return from their last alarm. Tradition tells us they are dead. Reason tells us they will be with us all the days of our lives, and faith tells us we will someday see them again. In the midst of his earthly activities, the Pale Rider came and signaled them to the realms of eternity. Obedient to their duty, they laid down their tasks, and with a fearless smile on their lips, they responded to the decree from the God of eternal bliss beyond azure skies. With the enshrouding soil, their mortal bodies will repose so that loved ones might pilgrim there with fragrant flowers, tokens of affectionate remembrances. But the souls of our departed brothers are on the wings of angels bound for distant shores, where the Almighty Ruler of perfect love will hand them the priceless gift of immortality. So, my brothers and sisters, when we respond to our last alarm, we will find our departed brothers and sisters waiting with the light of love in their eyes to lead us to the eternal Father who rewards those who love truth, practice charity, honor chastity, and stand for justice. Now, with the deepest reverence, let us bow our heads for the repose of the souls who will never return from their last alarm. Our brothers have responded to their last alarm.
Detail. Great press.
Thank you, John. I want to again thank you all for coming. Thank you for APD. Thank you for loaning us your building again. Especially thank the families for being here, and thank you for all the sacrifice you've given up. Thank you so much. This concludes our ceremony, and I'd like to welcome you all into the hall there. There's some food for us to eat if you're hungry, and I'd like you to use that green door over there. Okay? Thank you.